Welcome back, everyone. Today, I will walk you through traffic stops when the cops say, "Put that phone away." Let's go. A police officer walks up to your window and says, "Put that phone away right now." Your camera is recording. Your hands freeze. You're thinking three things at once. Can they legally stop me from filming? Should I argue? What happens if I refuse? And this is where thousands of people make the mistake that changes the entire encounter. Because the moment emotions take over, people start talking too much. They start debating law on the roadside. They start moving fast, reaching around the car, pointing the phone at the officer's face, or saying things that sound aggressive instead of lawful. That's exactly when a simple traffic stop can spiral into obstruction charges, disorderly conduct allegations, or claims that you were non-compliant. So in this video, you're going to learn the exact words to use when an officer says, "Put that phone away," what officers are often trying to accomplish in that moment, what the law may or may not allow depending on the situation, and how to protect yourself without escalating the encounter. Because this is not about winning against police on the roadside. It's about protecting your rights while staying safe. Imagine this. Officer walks up. Turn the car off and put the phone away. Most people immediately make one of two mistakes. They either obey instantly because they think filming police is illegal, or they get confrontational. "I know my rights. You can't stop me." Both reactions can create problems. The better response is calm, short, controlled. Here are the words. "Officer, I'm recording for documentation purposes. I am not interfering with your investigation." That sentence matters because you are doing two things at once. You are clearly explaining your intent, and you are making it harder for the officer to later claim you are interfering, threatening, or obstructing. Notice what the sentence does not include. No insults, no threats, no lecture about the Constitution, no sudden movements with the phone. A camera is usually most legally protected when you are not interfering with police duties. Courts across the United States have generally recognized a First Amendment right to record public officials in public places, including police officers, but the exact limits can depend on the situation, the location, and whether safety concerns are involved. That distinction matters because if the officer can reasonably explain that your phone use was creating a safety issue or interfering with lawful commands, the situation changes fast. Now, here's another trap people fall into. They keep moving the phone around while arguing. That is dangerous. If you are holding a phone during a traffic stop, especially at night, every movement can be misunderstood. So instead of waving the phone around, try this. "Officer, for everyone's safety, my hands will remain visible." That sentence lowers tension immediately. It signals compliance without surrendering your rights. And that combination is important. A lot of viewers think asserting rights means resisting authority. It doesn't. The safest approach is usually calm compliance with lawful physical commands while verbally refusing consent where appropriate. Here's another common scenario. Officer says, "If you don't stop recording, I'll take the phone." Now people panic. They clutch the device tighter. They pull away. Some even physically resist. That is a terrible idea. Never physically fight an officer over a phone on the roadside. Instead, use words, calm words. "Officer, I do not consent to the seizure of my phone." That phrase is powerful because it preserves your objection without escalating physically. Notice the structure. I do not consent, not you can't, not I'll sue you, not touch my phone and see what happens. Just a calm statement that you are not voluntarily giving permission. Why does that matter? Because consent changes legal analysis. If you voluntarily hand over the device or verbally agree, you may weaken later arguments about unlawful seizure. Now, let's talk about the biggest mistake of all, talking too much. The moment people get nervous, they start explaining everything. "Look, officer, I record everybody because last year another cop..." Stop. Every extra sentence creates risk. Remember this rule. Recording is not the same thing as debating. If the officer keeps pressing you, you can simplify everything down to this. "I am complying with lawful orders. I do not consent to giving up my phone."
Short, clear, professional. That wording matters because it separates physical compliance from legal agreement, and that distinction can become important later. Now, let's discuss something people misunderstand constantly. Can police always order you to stop recording? No, not automatically, but can police sometimes restrict movement, positioning, or behavior during an active investigation or detention for safety reasons? Yes, that's why roadside legal arguments are risky. You may believe the order is unlawful. The officer may believe it is lawful. The roadside is not where that dispute gets fully resolved. Court is. And the safest mindset is this: protect yourself first, fight the legal battle later. Here's another realistic encounter. Officer says, "Why are you recording me? You trying to start something?" Most people answer emotionally. No, because cops lie. That instantly increases tension. Instead, say this: "Officer, I record all official encounters for accuracy and documentation." That sentence feels neutral, professional, non-threatening. It also avoids personal accusations. You are not calling the officer corrupt. You are not escalating emotionally. You are simply documenting an interaction. Now, let's get into another critical issue: passengers recording during traffic stops. This creates confusion because passengers often think they can move freely inside the vehicle while filming. Bad idea. Even lawful recording can become dangerous if movements appear unpredictable. If you are a passenger, keep your hands visible too. And if instructed not to reach around the vehicle, comply physically while continuing to verbally preserve your rights if necessary. You can say, "I understand, officer. I'm not reaching for anything." That sentence reduces the perceived threat level immediately. Remember, officers are trained to watch hands constantly during stops. Fast movements towards pockets, consoles, waistbands, or seats can escalate situations in seconds. Now, here's another phrase people should memorize: am I being detained or am I free to leave? This question becomes important if the encounter extends beyond the original purpose of the stop. But timing matters. Do not repeat it every 5 seconds. Do not shout it. Do not weaponize it like a slogan from social media videos. Use it calmly and strategically. If the officer says you are free to leave, leave. Do not stay to continue filming arguments. If the officer says you are detained, stop volunteering information. That's where another important phrase comes in: I choose to remain silent and I want a lawyer. Simple, direct, legally safer than trying to out-talk police. A huge number of people destroy their own position by continuing to explain themselves after detention begins. They think they're helping. Usually, they're giving investigators more material to work with. Now, let's talk about officers ordering people to unlock their phones. This is an area where laws can become complicated and fact-specific. There are major legal questions involving warrants, biometric unlocking, passcodes, and digital privacy. Do not try to physically resist. Do not destroy evidence. Do not lie. But you can calmly say, "I do not consent to searches of my device." Again, notice the pattern. You are verbally preserving rights without escalating physically. That is the theme of this entire video: verbal clarity, physical calmness. Now, another warning: do not mistake internet videos for universal legal truth. Laws vary by state. Federal circuits can interpret rights differently. Facts matter. Whether you are inside a vehicle, standing on a sidewalk, inside a restricted area, or interfering with an investigation can all change the analysis. This video is educational information, not personal legal advice. But the safety principles are broadly important almost everywhere. Stay calm. Keep your hands visible. Avoid sudden movements. Do not physically resist. Do not consent unnecessarily. Do not argue roadside law for 10 minutes trying to beat the officer verbally, because the people who usually get themselves into the worst situations aren't always the people who started wrong. Sometimes they're the people who lost emotional control halfway through the encounter. And police reports focus heavily on behavior: aggressive tone, refusal to comply physically, sudden movements, interruptions, escalation. That's why controlled language matters so much. Here's the framework to remember when an officer says, "Put that phone away." First, stay calm. Second, keep your hands visible. Third, avoid arguing or insulting the officer. Fourth, verbally state your intent calmly. Officer, I'm recording for documentation purposes. I am not interfering. And fifth, if the encounter escalates into detention or questioning beyond identification requirements, stop talking. I choose to remain silent and I want a lawyer. That framework protects you far more effectively than roadside debates, emotional reactions, or trying to embarrass officers on camera, because the goal is not to go viral. The goal is to go home safely while protecting your legal position. And in the next video, we're going to cover another major roadside trap that catches drivers every day. What officers really mean when they say, "Mind if I take a quick look inside your car?" Thank you and see you on the next video.